As you know, we are launching a brand new, well, it's not brand new, what we're calling a renewed strategic plan for this year. We went through a consultation phase last year with lots and lots of folks. You, as one of our groups of employees, had an opportunity to give us feedback via the staff survey that we did. We also had lots and lots of interaction with school councils, other focus groups. Students gave us some input on it. And the theme was that we thought we were on the right track with the work we're doing as a school system, so it wasn't going to be a huge overhaul like it was 4 years ago. So we're using the term renewed. So we have made some changes, which I'm going to highlight to you. I think it's really, really important that as many of our employees as possible know what the core work of the system is. And even though some of us aren't directly involved with the education of children, we don't see children every day in our work. That is the reason that all of us exist. And I say this to myself as well as other folks that work in the Education Center, that we serve schools because schools serve students, and that's the work that we do. And we have to always remind ourselves that's the fundamental purpose of the organization. And even though positions like mine, we can be removed from students, we have to constantly remind ourselves that that's what we do. And the fundamental purpose of the organization is not just to serve them, but to somehow give them a life when they leave us that is far better off than it would have been otherwise. I was talking to the program folks the other day, and I said, you know, kids improve on reading and writing without us. Kids can stay at home even if they're not homeschooled. They will become better readers. Just because they'll get older, they'll try some different text, they'll become better. But what's the value added of a school system? How do we accelerate that, which is one of the words that we're playing around with in terms of value added of a school system. So I'm going to highlight some of the big changes in our strategic plan, and you'll see these changes will be hopefully visible in our schools, not just this year, but over the next 4 years. We still have two priorities. We're really, really, really proud of our work on positive, inclusive learning environments. I received lots and lots of feedback from employees about that. Some very powerful, positive comments about how proud people are to be in our system. And I also received lots of comments about concerns around the challenges related to inclusive education, and we know that. So that work is never, ever going to be done. We're never going to say, okay, we are inclusive, let's strike that from the work. It's never going to happen. But we're really, really, really proud of that. We made a change in the second one. We used to say we maximize student outcomes. It's a small one, but we actually changed the order. Maximize outcomes for students means something a little bit different. Because we used to, when we thought of student outcomes, we actually thought of those 5 words: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, problem solving. We called those our student outcomes. So it got to the point, I think, that we were focusing, in some people's minds, exclusively on those 5 things, those competencies. That's not what the work is. It's much bigger than that, even though we believe those 5 competencies are still important, and you'll still see those emphasized in our school system. So by putting outcomes for students, that is a very specific notion that the most important thing we do is prepare our students for something that happens after they leave us. So that's the outcome. But while they're with us, the outcome for a grade 3 student is to get ready for grade 4. The outcome for a grade 9 student is to get ready for grade 10. So those are the outcomes that we focus on. And within each of those 2 priorities, we've identified 3 key areas of emphasis, which you will see coming out on a website that Tim's been working on for us, and some other materials that you'll see around this office in the schools. We talk about, accelerated growth. We talk about literacy and numeracy specifically. We talk about the notions of equity and what that really means in the school system. It's a word that's used a lot, just to go back to our first priority for a minute. But going along with that notion of inclusion goes with the notion that every single child should see him or herself in our system. That's what true equity is. And it's not okay to have a system that favors a group or a subgroup of our population. And we work really, really, really hard on that. And that's the theme of public education, really. It's not, we take your best and brightest and do the best we can with them. That's not the notion at all. We have used this tagline, engage, inspire, innovate, always learning, for 4 years, but we thought we'd give a little more teeth to it. We start with adding some text beside those 3 words, as you'll see as the second part of the main page of our strategic plan. We used to say that we value students, staff, and families and communities. Well, after 4 years, it occurred to me and others that saying that we value those groups doesn't really say a whole lot. To say that we value students as a school system is actually quite comical. How would we ever exist if we didn't value students, right? So we believe that using the word engage actually has more teeth to it. And when we talk about engaging students, it's not just about engaging students in their own learning, it's about engaging students in everyone's learning. So do students actually see themselves as part of the system that actually can help other students learn to their full potential? Same thing with our staff. One of the questions that I wonder about is, especially for the school-based staff, the staff that work with students every single day, to what extent does our work focus 100% of the time on the well-being and achievement of students? It's not 100% because it's human nature. We have other things that distract us. But our work needs to be to try to get as close to that as possible. That's what the work should be. That's what the conversation should be. What are we doing to help students' lives, to help their achievement and their well-being? And if our staff can get to that point where that's almost all they ever think about when they're at work, then we're on the right track. As you go out in that first statement, of course, you're looking at bigger and bigger groups. Of course we value families. They're the ones that send us their students, and they have a pivotal role to play. I was reminded this summer at an event that nobody has greater impact on students than teachers, except their parents. And we have to remember that. Parents have a massive impact, even on those ones that maybe not be a positive impact. So we have to remember that to get them involved in the learning process is really, really important. We work closely with our communities. There's lots of connections there that can improve lives of children as well. We have to remind ourselves about engaging with them at every opportunity. And unfortunately, when the engagement with communities sometimes appears to be more negative than positive. We engage with our communities when we talk about closing a school in the community. That's not the only time we want to engage with this community, right? We want to engage with that community to help the students in that community. We added "and our world." That's a new part of the plan because we recognize now that the education of children is not isolated in a school or even in a town or even in 2 counties. It's much greater than that. And we have great things going on in our schools right now where teachers are connecting with people around the world to help their children learn more. And we wanted to emphasize that if schools are not doing that, this is an opportunity or an invitation to do that. As we go down the list, when we talk about adding some context to how we're going to inspire the work, we use this phrase, evidence-informed teaching and learning. And while the plan speaks to all of our employees and all of our students, this one speaks very specifically to classroom staff. That for many, many years in education, we did things on a hunch. That looks like it works. I got some good results with my group of kids. But we know so much more now about how children learn and what works and what doesn't. So we have to be very, very aware of the fact that we use high-yield strategies, things that actually help students progress as opposed to just guessing. And if there isn't good research on something, then we need to do the research ourselves. And I reminded our principals and vice principals that we're engaged in lots and lots of research projects on our board. It's something I'm also very proud of that doesn't happen in lots of school districts. Our work on inclusive education, we believe it's going to improve lives of children. That's why we're doing it. There's no other reason to do it. So we have a research team from Brock University that's been following us around for 2 years, helping us discover whether it's working or not and giving us advice on that. Same with the work we're doing on technology. A group out of Western University works with us on our one-to-one project. Is it actually helping students become better readers and writers? And if it's not, we need to change course. So we're really committed to this notion of research. The last one, many, many people thought it was important that we say specifically and out loud that technology is a vital part of the educational process. And it's not okay to opt out of it because there are things that technology can do that we as humans can't. It is simple as that. They'll never replace us, but if we ignore the benefits of technology, our students suffer. So we put it there as a huge reminder to all of us that technology must be part of our work. And we're going to continue down that road because we believe it helps students. The last part, our principles, they stayed fairly similar. There's one change, which some of you will have noticed. Equity, which relates back to a lot of our work. We emphasize it again because that's what public education is. We're really proud of our Character Education Initiative, which still goes on very vibrantly in lots of our schools. We wanted to maintain that. It's not just about reading and writing. It's about creating citizens. We changed the word from sustainability to stewardship. might be a subtle change to some, but it's a more powerful word. And as I've asked people around, what do they think it means? I think it's the notion that it's more personal. So we are stewards. I am a steward. You are a steward. Our students are stewards of the environment and so much more. So we think it's a kind of a personal connection to the world around us. So that's the part of the plan that the trustees approved in the last board meeting of June. So that's our 4-year plan. But there's much, 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 much more behind the scenes, and that's the work that we do on behalf of the system. So we've gathered input from lots of people about how we could operationalize that. What strategies are we going to use to engage our students? What strategy are we going to use to continue to make our environment more inclusive? And then we're going to have measurables around that. We're going to say, well, we're going to do this over the course of 1 year or 2 years, and did we achieve our goal? And what's the evidence that our system's getting better?